Welcome back, everybody, to episode 108 of Streaming with the Mouse, where today we're talking about episode 5 of Marvel Studios' Hawkeye, titled Ronin. Sit back, relax, this is Streaming with the Mouse. Welcome on back, everybody, to Streaming with the Mouse. My name's Cam Ramos, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, my co-pilot, Cliff. Cliff, say hello to the nice people.
Hello, everyone, and I mean, if you watch on YouTube, we're matching today. Maybe it's like the Spider-Man look.
Yeah, you know,
honoring Spider-Man for a incredible.
I'm wearing a nice little Grogu Christmas shirt.
Oh, it's a Grogu Christmas shirt from Target.
Galaxy's Greeting. It's very cute.
From Target.
Yes, $10.
And I am wearing just a regular red Nike shirt, but we're in full Marvel swing. We're in the winter release period. I stayed up till 1 a.m. last night binging the entire season 2 of The Witcher.
There you go.
We saw Spider-Man the other day. We have Hawkeye. We had Hawkeye last week. We have Hawkeye this week. And then the next week after that, we have Book of Boba Fett.
And today, what's today? Today's the 18th?
Yes, today's the 18th.
Today marks 1 year that we got Luke in The Mandalorian. Today was 1 year from the finale of season 2, which is crazy.
Holiday.
One of the greatest Disney Star Wars moments of all time happened a year ago today, and it was awesome.
It's a holiday in Star Wars history. It really is. It's bigger than Life Day.
It really is. Oh, it definitely is.
But I mean, here we because we're doing no spoilers for Spider-Man. It literally
no
came
spoilers.
out.
Yes, no spoilers for Spider-Man.
What do you think?
Probably by next week. Well, spoilers are free game because I think something that happened in Spider-Man will be something that we need to be cognizant of for Hawkeye. So we'll talk about that if we get to that.
But what would you rank? I know you put out your rankings. Where did you put Spider-Man?
So right now, I do my rankings not on best movies, because if it's best movies, the best movie I think is Infinity War, in my opinion. But that's my third favorite. My top 3 right now, as it stands for favorite, is Avengers Endgame, Spider-Man No Way Home, and then Avengers Infinity War. I loved No Way Home. I thought it was fantastic. I'm definitely going to try to see it again tomorrow since the Pats are playing tonight. It was unbelievable how good that movie was. Just unbelievable.
Yeah, I was very impressed with it. I want to see it again before I jump. I try not to make rash decisions in my movie rankings, but honestly, it had the potential to be the best MCU movie, and I think it might have gotten there. I know Colin looked at me like I was crazy after I said that after the movie, and then he saw it a second time, and he's like, "Wow, this is really good. This really was better the second time."
Yeah, they put it number 1. Or number 2. He put it number 2.
Put it at number 2, but then even better, honestly, after that is we got Kevin Feige confirming that Spider-Man 4 is currently in active development,
which is awesome,
which is really cool. And Tom Holland, he's ridiculous.
He's been weird lately.
I think they're in the contract negotiations.
Yeah, because he's been saying, I'm coming back, and then he's like, I want to start a family, and...
Well, and then he said, does that mean he's proposing to Zendaya soon? He said, I think the world's ready to move on from Spider-Man.
No,
and someone was like, and someone in the comments was like, he's just so trying to get more money right now.
Tom Holland, read the room. No one wants this to happen. No one.
Well, unless Tom Holland wants it to happen. That's a different thing. There are some news articles before we jump into Hawkeye, though. First one, Free Guy. I really liked it. I thought it was a really funny... It's a zero stakes movie, but it's really funny and a really enjoyable film. It's coming to Disney Plus on February 23rd. Did you see that in the theaters?
No, well, kind of. I saw it in a drive-in theater.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. It's also
my friend Abby Charland who worked on the movie. It was very cool to see her name at the end credits.
It was filmed in Boston, so if you're from around there, you know a million places, mainly Chinatown. And other than that, the first, I think, big in air quotes show canceled on Disney Plus. I remember they hyped it up in the original slate of Disney Plus shows. Diary of a Future President canceled.
I've not watched a minute of that show.
Not watched a minute of the show. It happens.
Yeah.
That's the way TV works. I mean, Netflix usually has stuff that's like an incredible first season and then cancels it. So this is the first time. So oh well. This is the first time for Disney Plus. So we'll see how it goes from here on out.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all I have for news because everything's being eaten up by Spider-Man.
Yeah.
He's a menace. He's a crook.
But it really should also be equally eaten up by Hawkeye, because this 5th episode was absolutely incredible. Are we good to talk spoilers on Hawkeye at this moment?
Hawkeye?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get our boy Kingpin.
This is obviously a spoiler alert.
I was the happiest person in the entire world on Wednesday morning. So let's talk about some of the big moments that happened in this episode. Sound good, Cliff?
Let's get into it.
And this is something, Cliff, that I know we've talked about off air. We talked about it a little bit, I think, last episode. This is a show that keeps getting better and better and better every week as the story builds into this big crescendo. Can't wait to see where episode 6 goes. But episode 5, we start off with another little backstory kind of a thing. I think Marvel does a good job lately at like being aware you have to have watched these other shows and stuff like that, because we open up with Yelena during the events of Infinity War, where she's not involved in Infinity War, but she's doing her task of trying to help these Black Widows, I should say, get free from Dracov's spell and his like brainwashing stuff. And she's able to help she thinks she's helping one of her former Black Widows. Turns out that Black Widow was never under Dracov's control, but they have this conversation. She goes to the bathroom at one point, and all of a sudden we get this was probably my favorite blip scene of all time, but we see Yelena get blipped and brought back in the 5 years. I think it's really cool seeing how different directors handle the blip and the return. Like we saw Monica get blipped a certain way. Now this is definitely a different way that we see visually Yelena getting blipped and being brought back. But we do see that she's gotten blipped. She comes back. She's in that same bathroom that she was in beforehand. But it's completely different. She's still at the apartment of the Black Widow that she was trying to help out. But it's been 5 years at this point. That Black Widow has a husband. She has an adopted daughter, I believe. And she finds out that she's missed 5 years of her life, and the first thing she wants to do is find her sister Natasha, aka our Black Widow, and she's unaware that Black Widow's dead, and because of her death, that's why she was able to come back. It's just a really cool, powerful scene, and again, I think Marvel does a good job where it's not hand-holding too much, where it's like, yep, if you didn't get this, that's on you. You didn't watch Black Widow. You should have understood who this character was coming into this kind of thing, and I appreciate that from Marvel. But what were your thoughts on this opening scene? Because I thought it was really well done.
I know I was like, okay, they're doing something, and I kind of liked the Black Widow not being under the spell.
Mm-hmm.
Actually kind of appreciated it, or under the mind control, because it does show that some people were very complicit within it.
Yeah.
It's not only certain people needed to be brainwashed to get the end goal for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it almost seems like Natasha wasn't brainwashed.
Mm-hmm.
To a sense, because Clint just talked about in the show, he's like, I saw in her face, I saw in her eyes she wanted it out, and I gave it to her.
Right.
And that sounded more like she was very complicit within it. And then finally it was just like time to leave.
Right.
That to me is what it was. I really like the come on, killing people for money. That's great. That's how you make all your money. Yeah. And the bathroom scene, I did like the blip scene. Because that's how it would have been for her. She would have disappeared and came right back. It was interesting that she knew something was wrong right away. And I think it's just because she's one of the world's best assassins. She knew right away that everything was different from 1 second ago to herself.
And I think that helps that the bathroom was like, I forget what the color was originally, but all of a sudden it turned green and stuff like that. And there's different decorations everywhere. So
yeah, for sure.
No, but a really cool scene, and this makes me think of Endgame so much. We talk about Natasha's sacrifice, especially in this show, because it obviously has such an impact on Clint, because he was there on Vormir with her. But you have to think like, okay, Black Widow spent those 5 years definitely looking to see if Yelena was still alive. Definitely found out, nope, she got blipped too. So you're wondering what's going through Natasha's head as she's like kicking off Vormir's cliff. Mm-hmm. To sacrifice herself for the greater good, but also to bring her sister back. And that just adds another little layer into the Natasha-Yelena relationship that you don't see on screen, but it's implied basically, or you can infer based off of how emotional Natasha's getting, having to figure she's looked for her sister and hasn't found her. I thought it was really cool, just a little headcanon spin on that scene on Vormir.
Yeah, and I think because when we talk about that, as PJ walks right into my keyboard, um, no, as as we talk about that though, it's to Natasha, Clint getting back to his family was more important than Alina and her being reunited, which is very
But he's
horrible
still helping to bring her
in
back.
her own head.
Right.
In because either one of them could have been sacrificed, but
Right.
I think she knew that the Bartons needed Clint more than Alina needed her.
Mm-hmm.
Which is just one of those things where it was like that's probably how she justified it for herself, where she needed to do this because Clint's family, in a sense, is also Natasha's family.
Right.
So I can see why and how we got to that point.
Yeah. Now we turn up to present day. Kate Bishop is obviously licking her wounds, excuse me, because Clint had just told, nope, we're done with this. There's a Black Widow assassin involved in this. Our partnership's done at this point. And she's obviously really upset. She reunites with Eleanor, her mom, and she really helps tend to her daughter's wounds and is really encouraging her to like continue move forward despite what's been happening, kind of thing, which we understand toward the end of the episode why Eleanor really wants. Is probably really happy that Clint's partnership is broken up and why she wants Kate to continue move forward or forget about this kind of thing. Kate does inform her mother that Jack is in a bunch of criminal things, that he's the CEO of this shell company, Sloan Limited. And later in the episode, not right away, but a little bit later, we do see that Jack is handed over to police custody after Eleanor uncovers some fraudulent tax records of Sloan Limited. Kate tries to comfort her, but like Eleanor doesn't really need comforting. She seems like she's in shock a little bit, but not really. And we have to assume this is all a ruse for Kate kind of thing, some plan in mind. But very interesting. But Jack's in jail now. We'll see how long he actually stays there and how does Eleanor play into Sloan Limited? We'll see that later. I'm assuming, hopefully in episode 6.
Sloan Limited is the new Vandalay Industries.
Yeah.
That really confirmed to me that Jack is completely innocent in all this. He's just a man who unfortunately fell in love with the absolutely wrong woman.
So do you think Eleanor just put his name on Sloan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because Jack is like, I'll be out.
I only think she dated him. She got engaged to him to get access to all of his information.
Right. That's not a bad theory, yeah.
And now it's definitely leading into she killed her uncle. Or she killed his uncle.
Yeah.
And I did like the scene of her and Kate. I'll give her some credit. She has some redeeming qualities because obviously she doesn't want her daughter to die.
I also think this is already
better than most. This is already better than most MCU parents, where Eleanor doesn't want Kate to die, unless she does, and we get completely 180 next week. But I think the only redeeming quality of Eleanor is her love for her daughter. That's what I will say. And I did like the scene because it was like she did kind of give like the pep talk of like you're still like the whole you're great and everything like that, especially the thing where it's like I bet you regret buying me that first ever boat, and she didn't, and she could have easily said yeah I do,
right?
Because now we're in the boat going up the river without a paddle. But she did. She actually, I felt that was very genuine for Eleanor. Yeah. But then, of course, the next scene with her is her arresting Jack and just completely not caring,
right,
at all. And Jack's like, we'll get to the bottom of this. It's fine. So I think it's going to end with Eleanor behind bars. They're not going to kill her.
Right.
They're not going to kill her because she can easily be a villain next to Kingpin for a long time.
Right. Now, we get, honestly, probably one of my favorite scenes in this show. I'm like so excited to talk about this, but Kate goes back to her apartment after she has this heart-to-heart with Mom and basically tells her, like, hey, this is what Jack's been up to. This is pre-Jack getting arrested because it happens the next day, but regardless, we'll just combine those two together. But she goes back to her apartment, and Yelena is there. They have a very, very funny but serious conversation. I think Florence and Haley do this is just fantastic acting on this part. The chemistry that these two have after only sharing like a split second of a scene in the last episode is unbelievable in this. But it's really funny because Yelena is kind of playing good cop, bad cop, where she's trying to get information from Kate, but it's in a funny way. Like, also, she's making Kraft mac and cheese. They're eating it out of the bowl. She's like yelling at Kate, like, "You only have one silverware. Like, you're an adult. Like, what are we doing right now?"
This is not
it's
cutlery.
Very funny.
This is not cutlery. This is not.
No,
cutlery,
this is not cutlery, Kate. But really funny stuff. But so like kind of that good cop buddy kind of stuff. But at the same time, like I said, she's trying to get information about Kate, but also implying to Kate, like, I know who you are, because she always says like Kate Bishop, Kate Bishop, Kate Bishop, and Kate kind of pulls that out, like, are you saying your name because you know who I am, kind of thing, like, just to show that you have some information about me. And Yelena kind of spills it, like, yep, I know who your mom is, I know this, I know you want your GPA, where you're going to school, all this other stuff.
I also like how they solidify she's smart.
Yes,
with the GPA, she's book smart with the GPA.
Yeah, she is very smart. Yeah, she has like a 3-something GPA,
3.8.
Yeah. But also, Kate learns from Yelena, her assignment is that she was hired by somebody to kill Clint for his role in Natasha's death, which is interesting. So there's a couple different factors in this, because we'll talk about this at the end, but we learn at the end that Eleanor is the one that hired Kate, right? Or excuse me, not hired Kate, hired Yelena. But we see at the end of Black Widow that Yelena is contacted by Contessa. So like, how does their relationship, where there's a weird triangle here between Kingpin, Eleanor, and Contessa, and we don't know where that is. I don't know if we'll see where that relationship falls in the next episode, but really interesting stuff. It was a very funny but also serious, threatening scene from Yelena. What were your thoughts on it, Clint?
It was great. It was a hilarious scene going back and forth, but it did have its importance in it definitely set a lot. And I think it was very much kind of showing just as much as Kate doesn't know as much about Hawkeye as she thinks. Yeah. And Yelena is severely misinformed about everything. She is doing the thing where she only has one target, and that's avenging her sister. And I definitely think it's going to lead into the whole talk where it's like, you killing him isn't going to bring her back. Right. And I think we have one episode left. I think it's going to get settled, and I believe I agree. The final battle is also going to have Yelena helping them.
That would be awesome.
So that's going to be my guess. Personally, I think that it's going to be 4v the entire mob. 4 people versus the entire mob. And we'll talk about the fourth person in a minute. The back and forth to me was absolutely comical, though. They very much have the chemistry that is exactly what you want for something like this, which is perfect. That's what we wanted. And that's, I think, what a lot of us were speculating with how the two actors are, where it was just going to be absolutely comical. Because their whole thing, both of their actors are so good in just the back and forth. The head movements itself, like not even just like the back and forth, but like the awkwardness they portrayed also, like the way like Haley looked at the mac and cheese, like, yeah, it's great. And just that to me was also, it just felt very real for what it felt like it could be an actually real conversation between two people.
Right. Yeah, and essentially the way that this ends is Yelena is obviously trying to get information about where Clint is, because she's been hired to kill him, from Kate, and she kind of finds like Kate doesn't actually know, and that makes sense because they just ended their partnership, or Clint ended their partnership in the last episode. Yelena does say, "Hey, Kate, don't interfere. Like, I'll put you down if you interfere again," basically, and that's where that scene goes. But one of my favorite scenes in the show, I think, was definitely that one.
Oh yeah. This is to me, this is one of the best Marvel scenes in the past couple of years. Not just like fun wise. This might be the funniest Marvel scene within the past couple of years.
But also like that mix of like that seriousness, like that threat. It was really well done. So shout out to absolutely. Florence and to Haley for this, because that was great. Later in the episode, we do get another, like, our first appearance, I guess, of the real Ronin in this. So Clint's wife, Laura, contacts her husband and basically learns like, hey, this is getting serious. Like the big guy is going to start getting involved here very soon. So we get another hint to the big guy, and we'll talk about that soon too. She tells him basically do what's best and just figure this out and settle this matter before the big guy gets involved. So Clint goes ahead and dresses in the Ronin attire for the first time in about 2 years or so, because this takes place 2 years after Endgame. And he's able to ambush the tracksuit mafia's auto shop. Basically gets a message to Maya like, hey, we're going to meet here kind of thing. We need to talk. Maya basically has the entire tracksuit mafia surrounding her as protection. Clint easily takes care of them as Ronin and unveils and unmasks himself to Maya in the Ronin suit, saying that it's Clint, excuse me, and basically warns her like, stop chasing after my family. This is done kind of here. And basically, like, he was led to this auto shop years ago thanks to a tip from an informant who was under the employment of Maya's boss, who wanted her father dead. So basically, he's trying to convince Maya with the truth. Basically, he's not trying to lie to her. Hey, your boss wanted your father dead, and I was tipped off about this. Maya's really shocked, doesn't really believe him, but she is able to go on, and Clint escapes and reunites with Kate, learning about Yelena essentially being in New York. So really interesting scene, a little heartbreaking, because all Maya wants is to get Ronin back for what she thinks is killing her father. But now we're kind of blurring those lines. Yes, Ronin was at that auto shop, but maybe didn't want the father dead, and maybe didn't kill the father.
You mean what I said all the way back?
And I thought he did. I just thought he did.
I know, because that's what I kind of like took as like, did he kill her for Kingpin? But it didn't sound like that. It sounded like he was trying to probably stop it.
And what I'm confused with, I guess, too, is like, why does he want to stop it? Like, what was in it for the Ronin who was out there just killing bad guys, basically, that didn't deserve to live? Like, what was in it for him to attack the tracksuit mafia and potentially save Maya's dad? I don't know. That's where I'm
But what if Maya's dad was one of the good ones? The thing is, that's the important thing. It's not always the black and white of evil.
Right, but I just want to know why.
And it honestly sounds like just putting together the clues that we have. Maya's dad fell in with Kingpin, and something happened where he literally had nothing anymore other than Maya. So his number one goal was protecting her. So he probably was like, okay, fine, I'll go into it with Kingpin to protect Maya and let her have the best life she deserves to have. And that's probably, Clint knew who her father was, and Clint didn't go after him.
Right.
What does that say? He went after a lot of big people, and he was pretty much the number 2 almost to Kingpin, or he was the number 1 of the tracksuit mafia that went to Kingpin. So he was one of the leaders of one of the mobs. Why wasn't Clint targeting him? Probably because he wasn't as bad as everyone else, and maybe he was doing good things along with being in the mob.
Yeah, potentially.
So there's all these things, and I wonder if we're going to get confirmation for Bullseye this week. That would be pretty interesting, because it would make sense. And I do think it's time, even though like the Netflix shows are great, just say that the Netflix shows are a different multiverse. Just say it. I don't think they've strayed too far to allow it, to me, unless they just want to confirm season 1 of Daredevil, season 1 and 2 of Daredevil.
I would say season 1 and 3 of Daredevil.
But the whole thing is, you can't have Kingpin be as well known, and if he's already been in jail, that already puts a target on his head. And if I personally think he's the man that bought Stark Tower, they wouldn't let him buy Stark Tower after being in jail for what he did.
Yeah, I think I would love it if Daredevil 1, 2, and 3 were in canon universe. It doesn't make sense because Kingpin, like you said, is such a powerful figure.
Yeah.
Especially in that first season, he's a wealthy person. Everyone knows who he is, kind of thing. Like, if that wasn't the same Kingpin, like that Kingpin would have been mingling around in that beginning dinner party kind of thing. Like, he would have been around. People would have known the name was Wilson Fisk.
Exactly.
Nobody would have been saying the big guy. So yeah, it's definitely, I think, a different universe, which
and
is fun.
And I think that's fine. I think that actually kind of adds to it a little bit, because I mean, not WandaVision, Multiverse of Madness, we know will give us a better look at the multiverse. Because it's a concept we know scarily little about, however Strange says
Frighteningly little.
Frighteningly little about. And that will be fun. And honestly, it would be really funny if they had a one-off scene in Doctor Strange 2 where it's the Netflix universe, where they go and it's their ones, because we've heard rumors that that Daredevil's costume is going to be the original yellow costume.
That'd be awesome. That's
which is going to be really cool. So it's cool. I think that's fine. I think, and now we know that you can say that X amount of seasons of season 1 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is canon in our MCU, and then at a certain point, it's just a different universe. Multiverses look at it. It's a really nice way to do that. But going back to Echo, going back into our small town, our small cityscape, Echo is very smart. Echo catches on right away, and she's like, "Kazi, why weren't you there? Why weren't you there the night my father died?" Because Kazi had something to do with it. And this is Echo is getting set up to join them at the end. I don't think she's going to become a hero. I think right now they're setting her up to be a very good anti-hero.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it needs to be.
Now let's talk about the last moment of this episode, the moment I've been waiting 3 years for. We get a piece of the Netflix Marvel Universe coming into the MCU officially. We get, we're at Girl's apartment. Kate and Clint are kind of reunited. They're kind of talking. All of a sudden, Kate gets a text from an unknown number. It's Yelena saying, "Listen, I found out who hired me. It's Eleanor Bishop. Your mom hired me to kill Clint." So again, I want to know where that lies with Contessa and stuff like that. So hopefully we get more information on that. But Eleanor hired her, and she's relaying information to Kate along with an image of Eleanor talking to an individual in the white suit. Kate shows Clint and says, "Who is this?" And Barton says, "It's the guy I've been worried about the most," kind of thing. And then we see what's on the phone. It's a blurry image of Eleanor standing next to Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin. We get the return of Kingpin, one of my favorite Marvel villains in comics, one of my favorite Marvel villains in what I originally thought was an MCU show. Honestly, I liked him better than Thanos. Vincent D'Onofrio's portrayal of Kingpin is unbelievable, and the fact that we officially have him, even if it was just a quick little picture of him, we didn't even get him acting yet, it was just awesome. As a big Daredevil fan, that was really, really cool to see, and I'm so excited that we'll get him obviously next week, and I'm hoping we get him for a long, long time after that.
I have a few things. I have a laundry list of things here. The first thing I noticed is, well, let's go to Yelena for a second. She's like, I know you, I know your mom, I know this. She actually didn't know her mom. She just knew the mom's name. She didn't realize that the mom was the big bad second big bad to hire her to do the dirty work. So Yelena wasn't as smart as she thought she was in regards to that sense. I really thought it was funny, and this is just my headcanon for it. Yelena texted Kate from an unknown number, so Kate couldn't have her number to annoy her. That is my headcanon. She absolutely sent it as an unknown, so Kate couldn't spam message her or spam call her. That's my headcanon on that. Can we talk about the fact that we get in the most monotone, then blurry picture of it in on a 1999 phone?
Yes,
that's how we get Kingpin reintroduced, with just Jeremy Renner in the most monotone voice being like, "That's Kingpin."
Yep.
With your mom. Funny. With your mom. I thought that was hilarious because it's such a good way to introduce it, and I really liked he was in his white suit.
Yes,
that was great. And then what else can I add to this? It's just setting up for the big thing. But I have two. So you talked about Contessa for a second. Where is she in this? And I saw a theory online that I actually kind of liked. So right now, all theories are pointing to Secret Invasion, that Emilia Clarke is playing the Queen Skrull. Varanki? Is that Varanki?
I've never known how to pronounce it, to be honest.
What if it's Contessa?
Is that she's a Skrull?
What if Contessa's Queen Skrull?
That'd be cool.
And she's trying to sow discourse. Because that's the whole thing. The Skrulls try to infiltrate governments and cause destability so then they can grab the power. So what if this is what she's doing? She's putting in her group of superheroes or anti-heroes and trying to get rid of any semblance of the Avengers.
That'd be interesting.
So what if Emilia Clarke's character is actually, like, we don't know what Emilia is playing in Secret Invasion. She could be Queen Skrull, but what if she's someone else? And it was actually, they secretly made Julie Louis-Dreyfus her, and she's posing as Contessa. Yeah. I really liked that theory because that would actually make a lot more sense why she shows up freaking everywhere, and I would actually appreciate that a lot more because then it would make sense why she's always finding out everyone's business because she is a Skrull.
And she's trying to infiltrate. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I don't like that.
They're a Skrull. I'm just gonna put this on record too. They're a Skrull is gonna be the next what's his name? Who's the demon that everyone thought from? Yeah, they're a Skrull. Everyone's saying they're a Skrull is going to be the next. It's Mephisto. The next couple years in Marvel. That's what everybody's going to be
accused of being a Skrull in this.
I know.
Cliff, an awesome episode. Like I said, it keeps getting better and better. One thing I do want to touch on too, I forgot to mention it earlier. Before Clint puts on the Ronin suit, he has this nice moment where he basically prays to Natasha. He goes to the spot. There's a nice plaque near, I think, one of the train stations, but it says on the spot in 2012, this is where the Avengers first became a team, basically. And he has this nice conversation with Natasha, basically asking for forgiveness for what he's about to do. Very Daredevil-like, if I'm being honest, very Matt Murdock-like. But it's because he's going to put the Ronin suit on again. So that was interesting. That was a cool little moment. I apologize for missing that earlier, but honestly, a fantastic episode. Absolutely loved every minute of it. Cannot wait for episode 6. Any final thoughts, Cliff, on this episode?
I am ready for the season finale. It's sad that it's ending, but it's gotten into the point where it's very exciting for a season finale. And then in 1 week from Wednesday, we get Book of Boba Fett.
I think this is
which is even crazier.
I think this is my most anticipated Marvel season finale, I think, at this point.
Really?
Yeah, I do. It's probably between this and WandaVision. I love Loki, obviously, too, but it's up there right now. The fact that we're gonna see Kingpin act, or Vincent D'Onofrio act as Kingpin, is huge. I'm hoping we get another character, maybe. We'll see what happens in this.
Maybe.
Again, no spoilers.
That's the thing. You can easily hide. Marvel has figured out that it's very hard to hide guest appearances in movies. It is very easy to hide surprise guests in TV. Yeah.
Again, I'm not gonna hold my breath on this one that somebody will be there, but it would be cool if he is.
I don't think
so either, but it would be cool. Do you think
if anything he'll be a post-credit scene?
I was going to ask, do you think we'll get any post-credit scenes for the show? I think we're going to get at least 2.
I think we've gotten a post-credit scene for every single season finale, haven't we?
The only one that I would say wasn't really was Loki. Was just that quick little Loki will return in season 2 kind of thing. It was there wasn't any acting in the scene, I don't think. Okay. You were just in the TVA. But they've all it probably won't be 2, actually. It'll probably just be 1. I think it'll be a setup for Echo, is my guess. Since that's officially going to be a TV show, that's my guess. It's going to be a setup for an Echo show.
Actually, if it is going to be a setup for an Echo show, this is the perfect time to confirm Matt Murdock for it.
Right. And I think it's either going to be that, or it's going to be, there will be a Hawkeye season 2, and that focus is just going to be mostly on Kate. Kate as the Hawkeye mantle. Yeah. So, all right, Cliff, where can people find you if they want to talk to you about anything? Marvel, Star Wars, obviously, like you said too. We got Book of Boba Fett. That's gonna let me dry my tears once Hawkeye ends. But
you can find me at CP Robinson 81.
And you can find me on Twitter at CamRamos95. You can find the podcast on Twitter at Stream the Mouse. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Streaming with Mouse. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Just type in Streaming with the Mouse. Please make sure to rate, review, subscribe, 5 stars, all that fun stuff on those different platforms so we can get more ears to listen to our podcast. We got a lot of fun stuff coming up. Obviously, the finale of Hawkeye. We got Book of Boba Fett coming up for Star Wars content this year, besides after Bad Batch, but first live action since like literally a year today of recording this, where it was the Mando season finale. So lots of exciting stuff. Can't wait to talk about it. We'll see you all next week. We'll figure out our scheduling next week with Christmas, but we will get an episode where we're going to talk about the finale. Don't you worry. And we'll also be talking about Book of Boba Fett in 2 weeks as well. So thanks so much for listening, everybody. Have a magical day.
Bye, guys.